So there's a formula for success. That's right. And if you know what the formula is and you implement it, guess what? You're going to be successful. You're going to achieve your highest wealth potential. In this episode of La Dolce Vita, you're going to learn how this social worker turned to social media and created a really clever product that is making an impact in the world. So stay tuned.
Frankie Lee, dimmi, quale senso della vita?
The meaning of life is to live la dolce vita, which is the formula for fabulous living.
Hi, my name is Heather Picken, and welcome to the La Dolce Vita Show, the formula for fabulous living. I'm the catalyst in helping you to be more confident, create your dream business, and attract elite clients and live a fabulous life. Here's Heather helping you to upgrade your life to
Fabulous. Upgrade your life to fabulous. Right, Frankie? You're fabulous.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of La Dolce Vita, the formula for fabulous living. Yes, I like to pretend that I'm Italian. And today, I love sharing all the formulas from inspiring entrepreneurs all around the world. There is a formula. There is a secret to your success, and you really have to follow what other people say and actually implement it as well. And my guest today is Diane Najm. And yay for pronouncing your name.
Yes, very good. I love it.
Woohoo! I think I said that like 5 times before you,
We had some fun before the cameras went on.
Absolutely. And I just want to welcome you to the show and just briefly introduce you. You're the CEO and founder of PhotoPad. And can you briefly tell us a little bit about what PhotoPad does for your clients and your businesses?
Yes, I would absolutely love to share that. PhotoPad for businesses. And what it is it's a designer tool to help businesses create visual stories of who they are and communicate their brand. And what we see today is a lot of posts with a photo. So we know that photos are a great way to tell your story. But what I've done is take photo sharing to the next level, and where we're going as we continue to share photos with businesses is communicate our brand visually. So we've created a designer toolkit that makes a very simple, quick, easy way to create and design a beautiful story that you can share to all your social networks. So it saves time. You create the story in one place and you share out. So you don't have to use expensive tools, graphic designers. It doesn't require anything other than getting on the computer, uploading your photo, and selecting a layout, a designer template, and more.
I love that. I love those creative ideas. And, part of what I teach entrepreneurs is making a global impact. And to do that, they need 2 things. They need to have their mind aligned to their vision, because if you don't, your mind will not allow your body to follow. And what I mean by that is not taking action. And so I help people to break through those limitations, really get clear on their vision, break through those limitations. And then, the other thing is having the right strategy, because without the right strategy, forget it. You can see everyone else doing Facebook ads or whatever, but I find the right strategy has to be specifically for your business and where you're at. And it's not a one-trick pony when I'm working with clients. So one of the first questions, Diane, I want to ask you is, how did you come up with this idea? Because this is really creative and a great way to express, how you want to help other businesses. But what was the moment where you thought of this idea and you thought, wow, this could really be something?
Well, it's very interesting. And I almost want to laugh because you said something on how this came about. That's what I want to laugh about. But I want to go back to something you said about creating your vision and strategy. And everybody is doing the same thing. So you're not sticking out. That's one. So how this all came, and I want to mention that because that's what PhotoPad will do for your company, is help you stick out in that clutter of all the social posts that people make, the same posts, Here I am, a selfie. Here I am with my child. Here I am. But that's not a story. That doesn't tell anybody anything, and everybody's doing that. And what we want you to do is customize your story and share it to everybody so that you do stick out. So I think strategy is like really important, and that's where we help you also. But going back, I started out as a social worker, and I worked with children and families and solved problems and looked and helped for resources to help families empower them. And what happened was in 2010, I started a scrapbooking app on Facebook, because at that time it was very consumer based, and there was no way, and again it was the same thing, there was no way to stick out on a story you're trying to share with your friends and family, your celebrations. Everybody was doing the same thing. Here's a birthday party, here's this. Well, I gave them a tool to do that, and I shot up to 250,000 users, and from there businesses started to use PhotoPad for scrapbooking. However, it was a consumer base and strictly a culture, of scrapbookers. But what we found was when businesses told an individual story, a customized story using our tools, they got increased engagement, conversion, and building relationships, which is so important. And from there, I decided to go outside of Facebook and create a second product of PhotoPad, and that was for businesses on the web. But I always say that I never came up with that idea. It was businesses that contacted me. And isn't that wild? I always say, for the community, by the community. And you know what? That really makes sense, because I was a social worker, and it was about community with social workers. We all helped each other, as well as helped I worked with women and children, like to help women and children, empower them. And here it is, I'm just transferring those skills and this idea that started out as scrapbooking and turning into what I forecasted would happen today is everybody's telling visual stories. So it's moving beyond that post. And because it's 1.5 billion pictures are downloaded daily. How do you stick out as a business?
I love that. And I just want to highlight, your kind of defining moment of how it came about. And it was just kind of, generated really out of this need. And I always tell people, it's like, you've got to pay attention to the opportunities that are around you, and especially living in this age of technology. If you're not on the cutting edge and really knowing what kind of tools that are out there that are going to catapult you to your success, then you're going to lose out on attracting, because I specialize in attracting those elite clients that can help you to build your global brand. So it's really about, having the right tools. So understanding how to be different as well, because I always like to say, if everyone's zigging, you should be zagging.
Right, exactly. And when people tell me we're doing fine with the tools we're using, they're not zagging. You're exactly right. You want to be on the cutting edge, and you want to move forward. And I think that's how PhotoPad came about. These businesses knew they needed to go beyond making a post, and they needed to tell their story. But it's really interesting, talking about opportunity and backtracking a bit, was I had won an award for Mom Business of the Year, and they gave me a press release, and I was laying in bed, or I just was waking up. It was like 6:30 in the morning, and I got a phone call, and it was from a business in Germany who, I think it was Germany at the time. Yeah, Germany. And he wanted to use PhotoPad. That's how it all started. So it was like, that started internationally. And I was saying to him, I remember laying in bed and saying, and not taking advantage of the opportunity. And I'm like, no, it's a scrapbook app. And trying to communicate with him, because he could barely speak English, but he wanted to know, he read the article on me and wanted to know how he could use PhotoPad for Facebook and to get a broader, audience, because at that time Facebook was limiting in the algorithms and everything like that. So I didn't take the opportunity the first time. It was like several phone calls later that I was starting to wake up and think, wait a minute, why am I saying no and shooing people away? Isn't that funny? And
that is funny.
So it's really about taking opportunity, like you said. And I never do that. I never do that again. That's a mistake, but it's okay, because we make mistakes, and that's where we learn. But it came out because then we got more and more small businesses that joined us and helped test this out, this concept. So I can never take full credit. I feel like it's been the community that started this.
I love it. Well, there's always a synchronicity in the universe. It's like, are you listening and paying attention? And you just happen to be in the right place, the right time, and have that opportunity to be presented to yourself so that you could monetize it. Now, you talked about the mistakes, and I think this is really important for people to hear, because a lot of times, a lot of entrepreneurs don't understand that the so-called mistakes or failures are necessary for you to grow your business. I was hearing a speech by J.K. Rowling where she gave the Harvard graduating class. I forget when that was, but she said something that really struck a nerve with me. And it was, the mistakes that I made in my life actually taught me something that I could have not have learned any other way. And if you don't know, for people that are listening or watching, she is the first billionaire author that was literally on Skid Row, and she used the so-called failure, to catapult her. And she, in her message, in her presentations, her speeches, she wants to share that the failures are necessary part of growth. So if you're not willing to fail through and fail up, then forget it. So Diane, could you share a little bit about, some of the mistakes or failures along your journey that have been really connecting the dots and catapulting you, in your business?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a number of mistakes that I made the first time around that helped me the second time around, that I felt like, okay, I'm on the right track this time. And one is, the first time I created PhotoPad, the scrapbooking app, I, if you can believe, as social as I was, I didn't go to events and network. I didn't contact anybody. I didn't have a coach. I didn't have mentors. I just thought I could do it, and that they would come to me because I had this great idea. So we all know that a death of an entrepreneur is isolation. So that's said over and over, and it's so cheesy, but it's so true. If you're going to sit at home and work on it, it's great, or behind the computer, it's great, but you also have to get out in the front. And if you're not the person to do that, you need to get a co-partner, a co-founder. That's why, like, if you think about planes, we have a pilot and a co-pilot. Each of them have a set of skills. One leads, the other one leads in a different way, but they need each other. So that was like one of the things that I really learned. So I was really out there, and I really worked on branding who I was as a leader, as well as branding my company and what it can do for businesses. And the second thing is the co-founder, is really having a co-founder, because you really need to have that balance. Otherwise, that's a big mistake too, is that you think you can do it all. And it's not that you can't do it all, but it's hard.
It is hard.
And there's certain skill sets that I just don't even want to learn. Finance is not my thing. And I need to have that co-founder who loves those numbers, who knows how to crunch them. What I like is research, analytics. That turns me on. But so does being out there networking. So, my co-founder would be an introvert. That's fine, because I can do those skills. That is really, really important. And the third thing is, it's okay to fail. Some people think, I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs, as I've mentored people, walk away from their startup close too early because they're like, well, I failed. No, it's a failure, but where do we need to pivot? How can we streamline this? What can we do to change it? Sometimes it requires one change, and that's it. And a person that is a great example of that is Smartsheet. Brent Frey, he talked about how the company, just like J.K. Rowling, right? Mm-hmm. She was on Skid Row. So was he and his company. He said he was like on IVs to keep the company alive. They were out of money 8 years in. They did not give up. But what happened was, they sat around one night and decided, what is it? I know we are onto something. And they made one change. And as you know, they just skyrocketed with that change. And that's what you need to do. And I've heard that over and over from leaders, is they've all experienced that one pivot point, and they go into a room for a weekend and look at what happened. How can we change this? Where do we need to go, instead of walking away? So I think that's a really good lesson too. And the third thing is really to seek mentors, and really get a coach. You're a coach. And some of the things that you do for people to help break through to get their success going, I think is a really good example of what people need. And sometimes I remember Sandra Yancey had mentioned one time she had 5 different coaches. And I asked her why. And she started telling me why. And it made perfect sense because she needed to learn in her company how to grow. She needed to break through the barriers of her own inner critic. So she needed a certain coach for that. She needed business coach, how to scale, and I take that to be one of the successes of companies. And I've heard that too from high leadership CEOs, that's what they've done. They don't just sit there and think I can do it myself.
Right. And I love that. And I just kind of want to recap that so people really get this is that, you can't do it alone. You've got to have some kind of coaching or mentoring and team to support you, especially looking at, what your highest priority things that you should be doing for the day. It's not working on your website. It is marketing, making those sales phone calls. And then also looking at what is your mindset? What is that dictating? Are you going to let a so-called perceived failure be a roadblock? Because again, I'm here about teaching the formula for success. Yes. There is a formula. Look at the top people in the entire world and what they're doing and look at all their failures. There is a measure and a metric for success. And the people that are not successful only because they just give up when it's too soon because it's too painful. And I always say, exactly. And an entrepreneur really embraces the whole process, the pain and the pleasure of the pursuit of what you're doing. So what are some of the things that you do mentally to allow you to keep, going to the next level? Because as you know, as an entrepreneur, it's never in a linear path.
No, never. And I have to laugh at that because I remember when I first started PhotoPad for scrapbookers on Facebook, and I remember telling my friends, and they all laughed at me, like, Mark Zuckerberg's going to buy my app, and I'm just going to be the next millionaire. And that was like my fantasy till it all came. I thought I was in this yacht, and then it just busted, right? And you're in this canoe. And so that's when you're right. You realize it's not a linear path at all, and you need to, it's always been my core value to fitness and health, and so it is part of my regime every single day is to get up early in the morning, to meditate. I do visualizations to what do I want that day to look like, or even to what do I want to see PhotoPad become. I think those are really good because it sets your mindset in a good space. I sometimes listen to motivational speakers, or I listen to some podcasts of successful entrepreneurs in the past who now do podcasts on how to grow your business. So any one of those are really a great way. That's what I start with. And then I like to go to the gym, and I like to run, especially if I get really inner critic in my head. I will go out and run because that often clears things up and actually helps with getting your mindset in the right space, and it really opens new doors, opportunities, and thoughts. So those are some of the things I do first. And it's hard to find balance, but I try really hard. I know my first year of building PhotoPad for Business, I call it the allure of entrepreneurship. I did an article and called, it was my mistress, because I really woke up one day and I had no friends around me anymore. And they were gone. And in fact, I stepped outside in our patio. I could hear laughter in our neighborhood. I'm like, what? Is there a party? What's going on? Why was I not invited? And I called over there, like, what's happening at your house? And they're like, oh, we haven't heard from you. And every time we've invited you, you haven't come. And I said, no, I come to everything. No, you used to come to everything. So it was a wake-up call. And that happens. But, it's really aligning your friendships and letting them know to rope you in sometimes. That's going to be their role. Everybody has roles in your life at this point, your family, like, hey, stay with us because you need them, especially because you said entrepreneurship is not easy. Failure is very painful. We joke about it. We laugh. We're like, oh, you can move on. But no, it's really deep and cutting, and you need people outside even of the whole entrepreneurial world just to remind you it's okay. So all those things are really what you need to arm yourself with, because entrepreneurship is very self-consuming until
Absolutely.
you reach that success, right?
I love that. And now you kind of gave us your daily routine, because one of the things I personally do and have all my clients do is meditate. And what I have found is that when they meditate consistently, they get results that are literally incredible. I mean, I could tell you story after story, and I know you probably have stories, but what it does, it helps you to calm down your mind to create what you want, because it's so easy to get into that space and get pulled in every different direction of what the world is doing, what everyone else is doing around you or saying, your colleagues, your friends, to pull you into their doom and gloom. And here's the thing, a leader knows their purpose, a leader knows their vision and mission, and you've got to keep your mind guarded at all times. So I really appreciate that.
Yes, you do. And you got to keep it open and growing. And that's the other thing I think is really cool, which really drives my passion, is you're constantly growing. You know, I just did an article about it's not too old to start up a startup, because I'm over 50 and I'm continuing to grow, and I'm finding things out about myself that are really interesting. You know, I'm pushing, I never thought of myself as having fear, but I have to push past fear.
Right.
Get out of my comfort zone even. It's so easy to retreat back. So it's a constant growth, and I love that. So that's,
I love that. Yeah. And I just, you know, everyone that's watching or listening, you got to realize that you can't be afraid. And if you're afraid, then you really need to know what those limiting beliefs are and work with a coach that has experience in understanding what those programs are, what those limiting beliefs are. Because I find strategy alone is not going to cut it. You really need to approach your business in a holistic way.
Yes.
You know, I have to give a brief example. So I was working with a client from Germany, and she was in this relationship where the person, you know, the guy was depressed and her business was failing. And I basically said, you need to take a stand for you. You need to value yourself and say what you want. And as soon as she did, because she was so scared, everything changed in her business to where literally in 24 hours, the whole landscape changed, you know, where she was getting more clients and feeling inspired with their mission and purpose. So it's not just looking at, oh, I want to grow my business and strategize. It's also, what are the other energy drains around you that are robbing you, you know, from receiving more clients and cash and clarity and inspiration. It takes up so much real estate in your mind. If you're preoccupied, let's say if you have a relationship issue, you're preoccupied, you cannot be in the flow of your business. It's just impossible.
Right. No, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And I was thinking as you were speaking about some other things, I mean, it's a constant circle. Like it starts in the morning, and when you go to bed at night or prior to bed, you should find a space too to be grateful for the things that happen during the day, good or bad, and really assess and let it go and move forward. You know, one of the biggest things I always say, and you see it on all my posts, is and I just said this the other day to someone too, because I look back and I was always like filled with regret. Oh, I should have done this. I should have done that. And my mentor said, you have a new set of tools and you need to move forward. That's the things that happened in the past. Those were your set of tools that brought you to this point. Mm-hmm. And I think we need to remember that and let go of things and move forward. But the other piece too, I think is really important for entrepreneurs is to give back, because I think that I know it's been a part of my social work, inspiration to help people, but I love, and I think it really balances me too, to be mentoring. I love meeting with entrepreneurs. I love giving back, and especially women, and helping them. So anytime anybody asks me for help, I will help them, you know, and connect them if I can, or give them some of my time, because I will never forget the doors that opened for me from women, not only in the social work career, but really in the entrepreneurial world, because it was hard to break in, but it was women who helped me. And I think that's a really good thing to do. And also I've had a lifelong passion working with children and families, so I continued that. I serve on boards for helping advocate for children who've been abused. And all that is a nice balance. So when we talk about work-life balance, you got to think of that component too. Not only being the mom and the wife and the sister or the aunt, but also the other component about all the other people who are starting startups or entrepreneurs and need that help, because they're where you were once, you know. So I think that's a really good way to balance out this this journey we're on.
I love that, Diane.
Yeah.
Such words of wisdom, and it really is the formula for success, aligning your mind to your vision, not giving up, keep pushing forward, getting the support that you need. And before we go today, Diane, can people jump onto PhotoPad now and start using that? Where can they learn more about you?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, actually, we've been out in a soft launch since September. So yes, it's live. It's on the web, photopad.co. And you can sign up and then you can start creating. It's very simple. It's pretty much self-explanatory. You just upload photos and you select text, backgrounds, and designer templates, and you share out to the social networks.
Awesome.
Yeah, so thank you.
That's great. Yeah, and we will put the link. The link actually will be in the show notes, either under this video or if you're listening on iTunes, you can find it there. And Diane, thank you so much for your time and your inspiration and what you're doing in the world.
Thank you very much, Heather. I appreciate being here today, and I love what you're doing too, because we're both aligned in the same way of helping women. Thank you.
Absolutely. My pleasure. And I just want to close out this show today and really, take notice of what your own inspiration is, and do not be afraid of failure. Make failure your friend and really learn from that, because that is the secret to catapulting yourself to the next level of success. Until next time, this is Heather Picken. So if you found this show to be fabulous, please share with your fabulous friends, rate, review, and subscribe on YouTube and iTunes. And I'll make sure I take a beatbox lesson, right? Or give my little chihuahua a bone. That's me. Fabulous.